can't tell if I'm missing the meeting.
You weren't missing anything, Fred.
We're good. We were
It's all good.
we were talking about you. I'm just
Okay,
joking.
you can go back on mute then. I just wanted to make sure you were asking me to talk.
We weren't talking about you.
Okay, so we will call this meeting of the Audit and Finance Committee to order at 1:05. We do not have a quorum, but I have been made aware that we don't have any necessary actionable items that would require such, so we can still have the informational meeting. The only thing we wouldn't be able to do, I guess, is to technically approve the minutes.
Yep, we'll have to
from
move
March.
that. Yeah, we'll move that.
Yeah, I don't know, those minutes from March, they're really burning a hole in our pockets.
Just curious, Missy, in our bylaws, do we officially have to approve minutes? Is that like our days of being town supervisors?
Yeah, I think
We just
so.
say received and filed, because minutes legally do not have to be approved unless there's
Oh,
something in our
I don't
bylaws
know.
requiring it.
I don't know, but let's
Don't know if we
just,
want to, but just.
let's just
toss
move it
out
just
there.
in case.
Yeah,
Okay,
We'll move to September and then we'll have 2 minutes to approve.
fair enough.
yeah, that would be nice though, if they were all just received and filed.
That's what I do for my
Seems
homework
like
meeting
such
minutes.
a-
Yeah. Received and
I think we all just do it because of,
Practice.
yeah, formality, parliamentary process.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so we are, with that said, has everybody here even had a chance to review the minutes? Are there any changes that we theoretically we can make note of? I'd say the only, change, and I was just gonna see when this changed on its own, but it just hasn't, is my title and everything is wrong.
I noticed that as I was
I
printing
think
them
we
today.
fixed it
I
on,
just feel like I
sorry.
don't wanna be all
I
about,
noticed
like,
that
my
today.
title and stuff, but I'm not the.
I think we
deputy budget
fixed it on the other one and not on this one.
I
It's been
apologize.
well
That's
over a
my
year.
fault.
We'll fix that. And then when you approve them in September, they'll be.
Mark, what's your new title?
Or in
I
August.
just budget
Just,
director.
but yeah.
Or is
Yeah,
it
not that
No,
big.
what day is it?
The
In
9th.
September when we
You're
approve.
the sheriff.
Yeah.
The man.
Yeah, I just looking, I'm like, oh, yep, still there.
We did fix it on the other one.
I know, I
Just
noticed
not an
that.
A and F.
Well, proof will be in the book.
Yeah. Well,
We wanted to give you the opportunity to go back to it if you
Oh,
wanted.
here's, no, actually, here is the packet for the board of directors.
mhm.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
wrong here.
It is.
I noticed it as I was printing, like
Okay, we won't
400
waste any more
pages.
time with that, I'm saying this
That's
in
my
a
fault.
funny
I
way.
will
didn't
fix
see it.
Think
I
we
didn't
actually
catch
did
it
that.
either.
It's all good.
That's funny. Okay.
Cut to a scrivener's
Okay,
error.
so with that, then, we can go into July financials.
Sure. Before we start that, I just want to introduce Josh Hine, our
Oh, sure.
banker from M&T Bank. He is just going to explain kind of a process that we had to go through. I just want to recall for the Audit and Finance Committee that we have an investment account, which everyone knows, and then we have this requirement from Verizon that we have to have a $500,000 letter of credit. And if you recall from years ago, that was very difficult to get. But we were able to get it, and we collateralized that $500,000 with our investment funds. So we never have to pull anything aside, it's just, it collateralizes within the investment. M&T has come up with a better way because there's a new process that would require us, every time we remove money out of any of the investment fund, it would require us to do an extra step. So we're opening a separate investment, or it's kind of the same. We're opening up a second investment account, which is under the same account. We're going to put $500,000 in that account. It doesn't cost us any more money to do that. There's no changes, there's no fees. And we're going to collateralize that $500,000 that we will not take money out of, every month or every other month. And so we won't be required to do the extra step until we get to that point where that one's going to mature. What we'll probably do is just put a different $500,000 out. Do that and do that extra step just once a year probably, versus having to do it every time we remove funds. So Josh is going to answer any questions and probably explain a little better to me than I did, but that's just the gist of why we had to sign those forms today, Mark.
Mhm.
Thank you for doing that. I apologize, I didn't know. I thought you actually had to sign a physical form today,
Okay.
but it was reversed. You had to do the online form, and I had to sign the physical form today. So go
Yeah,
ahead.
I just feel bad they kept sending them.
It was
and I
fine. She
kept
knew you
not-
were at the office. She knew you were
And then I
gone.
went to do it, and originally I'm just like, how do they know my social?
Same. I had the same thing. I was like, what were those
And I
numbers
tried to put it
again?
in, like, well, apparently they don't know it because it didn't work.
I went through the same thing, Mark. I was like, I don't know what to do here.
Yeah, there was a moment where I was just like, I've
We know everything about
him.
Yeah.
Thank you, Missy. I won't take very much time. First, thanks for having me. So two things were going on this month. We figured this out a couple weeks ago. The first part is why I'm here. We signed a little bit of paperwork today. The bank actually made a mistake about a year ago. There's no impact at all to ErieNet. The impact is really to the bank side. But what we did, or what we didn't do, is when we secured the letter of credit last year, Missy did everything right, my team did everything right, and then somewhere beyond my team, like the closing procedure, didn't get completed. So essentially, the letter of credit, it was in full effect. Verizon was protected, you were protected, the bank wasn't protected. The facility wasn't fully secured. We got to step 9 of 10, and we didn't do that 10th step. We just figured this out a couple weeks ago, okay? So once we did that, we figured two things out. One, we had to get paperwork that is more current, dated with 2025. We figured out last night and then this morning that the board resolution from 2024 is in full effect, so we don't need a new board resolution.
Okay.
We're doing everything we agreed to last year that we just didn't somehow complete.
Okay.
And I apologize on behalf of the bank for not doing that. But like I said, there's no effect, no impact to ErieNet. You were protected, Verizon was protected. If anywhere there was a sort of an impact, it would be the credit risk to the bank was greater than what we thought the credit risk would have been when we extended the facility. So that's being remedied. So that's step one. Step two is when we discovered this, I started talking to my colleague, John in M&T Securities. And
John Z, we just call
John
him.
Z, yeah. So John is actually moving to my building now. Did you know that?
No.
So he was on Delaware, now he's gonna be in the Gold Dome building.
Oh,
So
okay.
that'll be a little bit more
He's
convenient.
our investment advisor.
Yeah, John does all the securities investments for ErieNet and honestly for all of my government clients in the region. So John and I started talking and we had another client that has a similar situation that about in the last 6 months to a year we figured out is very restricted to collateralize using an investment account. The reason being is every time there's a withdrawal, you need that extra step that Missy was talking about. It's not prohibitive in any way, it just takes an extra day or two. And quite frankly, it gets a little annoying to the client to request their money, then have to go through a process where we release a lien on the money, and then we have to put the lien back in place after the money's out. So we figured a better way to do it was just to set up a new account for ErieNet. Again, no fees at all. There's really no impact other than there'll be two statements. So you'll have your main statement and then the smaller $500,000 account. It is invested. You are earning money. You're not losing any
Just
interest.
completely segregated so
Correct.
you can keep the.
Right. And the rates are the same too. Just because it's a smaller pot of money, the rates do not change. So-
That was gonna be my question.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that's a good question, honestly. So there's really no impact other than seeing two statements.
Okay.
But the really smooth part of the process will be going forward when you need to withdraw that money and then replenish it. It'll be a lot easier to do. So those are the two things that happened that I wanted to update you all on. Excuse me.
Any questions?
I guess, do we need anything, what documentation will we have for the remainder of the board, like for main board meeting? Obviously, this is the finance side of things. We would most likely.
We already did a resolution, so we
Okay.
did a resolution, in September of 24 that the board authorized.
Right, but I'm saying for like what we're discussing right now, do we have anything?
I can send you the final forms that were signed, just moving the 500,000 to that mirrored account,
Right.
and then that's pretty much it. And then we could do the renewal paperwork as well.
Fair enough.
We didn't have to do a resolution. Bob and the bank both agreed that the original resolution covers any renewal, so we don't have to do
Okay.
that. But can you just make a note that we'll send the final paperwork over?
And I'll get this scanned in the next hour. I'm gonna walk right back, so.
Perfect.
Okay.
So that was all.
Easy.
Is there any questions on the general banking or anything I can offer?
That's-
Okay, well, I invite anybody, if you have follow-up questions or ever want to reach out to me.
Yeah.
I'm easily findable and happy to spend time with anyone who's got questions. So, thank you all.
All right,
Sure.
thanks,
Thank you
John.
very
Good
much.
to see you. Yeah, take care.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
Good luck with the start of school.
Oh, thanks, you too.
And I'm gonna make that connection with Amy.
Oh, yeah. She's the best.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So Missy, you'll still just acknowledge it in your board report.
This process?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can. I don't think it was in my original one, but that's a good, I can do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we
Yeah,
should.
us. Kind of a little-
Is it in my board report? It might be, but this may have come up after my board report was submitted. It probably did, because it didn't
Yeah, I
make
mean, I
this
guess
agenda.
They, you know, they had a little bit more risk inadvertently on their end.
On their end,
Nothing
Nothing on
actually
their end.
happened, so
I
Couldn't bet too bad because Josh showed up today.
it's.
He only showed up because,
I mean, he's still
he didn't want me to
within
have to
the
go to him or something. He wanted to make it easy for signatures.
Yeah.
And he wasn't sure if Mark and Thomas had to sign also.
Mm.
So I said, well, we'll all be together on Tuesday if you want to come there, but apparently you did not. So.
Well, and ultimately, nothing actually happened, so those are the best kind of errors to
Yeah,
apologize.
it's a formality,
It just
really.
doesn't impact anyone.
Yeah, it didn't impact us. I wasn't even gonna throw them.
Well, it didn't even
I wasn't
impact
even,
them.
I
it's
know,
also-
I
yeah.
wasn't even gonna go into that
Yeah.
story, yeah.
No, it's better that it's segregated up until the point that
It probably is anyway.
we
Yeah.
don't have $500,000 to remain.
Oh, but we've got good news for you.
Oh, okay.
So real quick on the July financials, we're still in that same, like, do we need to pull out money, do we not? Most of the months we're pulling money out. This month, we luckily didn't have to. It was, some months are slower in the bill payment, and we are getting refunds. We just got a refund today, Fred, of just over 300,000 that got deposited this morning. So, that impacts how much we withdraw. This was the first time we went under 4%. Or maybe we ended up getting right at 4%. We did have a discussion with the advisor about maybe doing shorter monthly terms because you're getting a little bit of a higher rate, but the length is really what gives us more of our money, yeah. And so the recommendation is still to continue as long as we can to keep stacking it at the end. So I think we're at July of 26 right now. So anytime we do when we do a new maturity, we go to the end. So next month will be August if that's the month that we're on.
And here's the thing, for us, like, usually the drawback to doing shorter, periods is it's a bunch of extra, like, duplicative work.
Right.
To then keep on reinvesting.
Yeah.
But we're not the ones that are doing that.
I know, but we
So-
probably pay a fee. We do pay a fee each time we have to do that.
Yeah.
I guess it wouldn't matter if it was
Well,
going and or
that
shorter.
would be the question is, at what point does the, unique transaction fee become prohibitive
Yeah,
to?
nowhere
the
near right
left?
now,
Yeah.
yeah. I'll tell you
Because I mean,
too,
otherwise, all it is just effort.
yeah, Fred and I did have the discussion, because we could come down to the point further on down the road, and the good news is it's gonna be much further on than we had originally thought, which is really good news for today. But where, like, maybe we know we have a bigger month coming up, and we might wanna bulk up whatever that next, like, let's just say we only have 900,000 versus 1 million, but we know that month we're gonna need 1.5, so maybe we break it up and we move some of that money, so we're only withdrawing that much instead of having to withdraw early from something
We
else.
just don't
So
have any penalties.
those are, exactly,
So
those are
it's
more
like, why
strategic
is it
things that we think
All of
about.
the reasons why you would want to plan ahead, we don't have any of those repercussions.
Yeah, I know,
It doesn't waste our time to reinvest in the ladder.
right.
We don't have penalties for bringing money out.
Mhm.
I mean, at a
We
certain
won't
point,
realize
it's-
our gain, but that's about it.
But that's what I mean.
Yeah.
So, like, we should keep everything in there, really, I mean, as long as possible.
Yeah.
So long as we're not, messing with the, what is it, usually about a 24-hour, like, liquidity.
It's been a
window.
little bit longer
Yeah,
than
But
that.
2 to 3
24, 48
days. He
hours,
told
but
us,
it's a
yeah,
couple days,
yeah.
okay.
He told us
Yeah.
24 hours, we're noticing more like
Yeah.
48.
So as long as, I mean.
Yeah.
We're quick enough that
We
we have
know,
a couple days
Yeah.
notice up to a week.
and I can't imagine
There are
we would
no
ever
negative-
need that.
Yeah, there are no repercussions,
Yeah.
it seems like, other than lost, gains.
Yeah, yep. So that's kind of the update on the investments. We do have some larger ones coming up, so we're kind of taking a look at how we want to do that, how we want to reinvest, if we want to split them up. But I really think we're just going to keep doing the stacking because, as you see, when we get into the budget, which Fred I'm sure is anxious to talk about, we have some good news on that front. So why don't we just get into that so I can stop talking about our good news. So the budget. So this is the first draft. This is the proposal that we show you guys. We'll get feedback, any questions, any things you guys want changed. Just like last year, we will probably, outside of your suggestions or questions, have additional changes that we have to make as things pop up or we realize something or more final numbers come in. More concrete projections on construction. Anything can really change that. And a big example is we had 2 budgets for you up until Friday, because we had not finalized the MIP Connect All grant yet. And on Friday afternoon, Friday morning, sometime on Friday, we received final confirmation and our award letter for the MIP grant, which is $5,088,000.
Really?
And what that $5,088,000 does is it gives us the ability to have cash through the end of 27. Where we were looking at mid-26 at some point without it because, as you know, we had committed funds outside of the 400 miles to do the Buffalo build in exchange for the license agreement. And this $5 million, along with other things, pays for the entire Buffalo bill. So all of that money now will be what we had originally anticipated to be, which is for future operational costs and needs as we go forward. So, Fred, do we want to pull that up?
Am I superimposing some of these versions of MIP?
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I thought even this or whatever round we're technically on.
We're in the 4th round.
4th round, right? It feels like the second.
It's our second round.
Yeah, our second round. That's kind of what I was thinking. I thought the award was still
10 million.
Okay, so I thought it was even still going to be higher.
Then it was 26 million or 28 million. What were we at?
Okay, so it keeps whittling down.
Started at 10, it got as high as 33.
Oh, 33.
They got pared back to 27. Then out of the blue, they just wrote a letter and said, no, we're gonna go back to your May application.
And
But
give you
we're
half.
gonna deny your towers and your network equipment, 5 million. And then we pushed back and said, you gotta include Erie County Public Safety, and you have to include our project management and administrative costs. And we pushed back at 5.1 or the 5,088,000.
Yeah.
Well,
So
I guess
it's been
bird in the
ping
hand
pong.
is
It's
worth
been
2 in the
ping pong.
bush because,
There was no explanation on, first of all, I just want to preface that with the fact that they asked us, we wanted 10 million. They came to us and said, please apply for way more. We took a lot of time to do that, especially ECC, putting together a rushed application on the request of CAO. Didn't hear back from them for a while, and then they come back with 0
They
explanation
asked us.
and went to the 10 million and cut that right in half on the network equipment. Never an explanation of why they're not including the network equipment. If you read the grant, it's still covered.
No, they, not only did they include the network equipment at one point, but they asked us to expand all the community anchors to include every school district in Erie County, as many of the hospitals as we could get to, basically to get to as many as we think we could get to within 2026, the year 2026. So that got us back and forth between 33 and 27 million. And then I think they got cold feet. I think that, we're not the only project they're negotiating, and they said, well, we're comfortable with the 5.
Which is fine. So we might go back and argue a little bit more while we're doing, till we get to the final, you guys are gonna have to
Would
do
be
this
nice
twice, but
to
the
know why
GDA.
network electronics. are
Yep.
included.
And we're gonna try for the electronics, and we have a couple ways in which we're gonna do that, but
So you think it'll be a whole separate, phase 5 MIP?
No, I think we
grant
can get it-
request, or we're still?
I think if we're gonna get it, it's gonna be this round because it's technically included. But right now, the phase that we're in is, we have the incentive proposal draft coming to us. I'm sure you saw my email. From this point forward, any cost that is associated with this project is gonna be included. so we can start sending out our Buffalo permits that we've been waiting on. Then we go into a phase after the incentive proposal is signed where we negotiate a GDA, which is where we could maybe negotiate the electronics back in. The electronics does not benefit ErieNet. It benefits the county, the city of Buffalo, and the city of Lackawanna. So I want to think on the ErieNet side of the board, ErieNet has gotten a great grant from MIP that is really helping us, and we will try to work hard, and we're going to include some push from the county as well as from the city as well as from Lackawanna to try and get that network equipment included.
So the question is though, does it make sense maybe to pivot and have those several municipalities do their own grant request?
They could, but they've missed the deadline.
They don't have time.
They don't have time to put that work together. They don't understand the network. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure, I was just thinking if the
Which is
premise
part of our
the issue
argument.
here
Yeah,
is
is that part of our
that
argument? We did it for
they're the
them.
ones that benefit from the equipment, there's nothing within the grant that
Mark, the
says
way
who
they,
can or can't
the way
benefit.
they look at equipment, it's equipment that you put in last mile,
Mhm.
small business and residences. They're the home routers that you see in your house. And we're putting in enterprise level, high-end routers.
Yeah, in all the
And
anchors,
really,
of course.
our square peg didn't fit in their round hole.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Now, they may come back and say, listen, we have excess funds. You do want the network electronics, maybe we can get it in, but I'm skeptical. Everything with this program, I'm skeptical with.
Same.
Yeah, we're almost getting to the point, especially because of what's likely to happen at the state level, where we just gotta take whatever money they'll give us.
And it's not
Yeah.
without risk.
Because the longer
Yeah.
we fight about something, that means the longer it is till we actually get the cash in hand, and the more likely
Yeah, and we're on
when
a
the
time
state
frame.
is trying to
We-
close their
and
budget gaps, that they
they've
may
made it very
choose
clear,
to
Mark.
use
Yeah.
that to
Yeah.
close
They
budget.
made it very clear that if we're not finished by 12/31/26, whatever extra expenses we have are on ErieNet.
Mhm.
So
But-
if they're delaying things, every month
But
that
they're not
goes by,
yeah.
it makes that goal harder to.
But here's the good
attain.
thing about just taking the 5 million is we pretty much already committed that money anyway.
Mhm.
So we have the money to do that.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
we're somewhat
And
just reimbursing ourselves costs we were gonna incur anyway, so I mean, it's
So
still.
we're prioritizing, I should say, to make sure that that does not happen and that we have this money so that we can keep on budget that we need to actually start talking about because we only have a half an hour. But yeah, so anyway, just to go forward, here is the budget. I don't know, Fred, if you want to pull it up on your screen, but so we can all see it, but we have it in front of us. Fred, if you want to talk a little bit about how we got to this point. It's very similar to years prior, just FYI, this is just estimates.
I think the easiest one to share is going to be the summary where I showed what we presented last year and then kind of what this year looks like. So can you guys see my screen okay?
Yeah,
So this gray area is what we would have seen last year. I just thought it was good to start there. You'll see 23, 24, 25. We get to, a budget that nets to zero. And then in 26 and 27, we were showing shortfalls just based on the lack of revenue and the operating expenses that would ramp up as the network was finalized and got to an operational state.
It's this page, the last page.
Oh, last page.
Yeah.
Just trying to confirm what page, there we go.
So I should have kind of started here, just summarizing real quick. The top 4 rows are just the sources of revenue. The first row would be, the actual use of the network and commercial services. The investment earnings is pretty self-explanatory. This grant line is if you add it up, it's the 34 million. You just recognize that revenue as you spend it. And then this non-operational revenue that you see here is the reimbursement checks that ErieNet gets that are reimbursing for work that's performed. Then
Verizon.
Mhm.
spectrum sometimes.
And then the operating expenses, just operating expenses annually for ErieNet, and then the capital asset outlay, you know, the building of the network and what will be amortized over time, depreciated and amortized. So this was what was last year. Just wanted to kind of level set there. You know, when we did this last year, we were hoping that we'd get most of the construction built by the end of 2025, but there have been some delays. So I will then fast forward to this year. So you will see, you know, 2023 is the same, a slight difference for 2024 as I plopped in the actuals. And then for 2025, what we have so far is I have actuals through June and then estimates for the balance of the year. But as you can see, you know, the construction piece, you know, we didn't spend as much as we budgeted last year, so we're seeing a big balance of that fall into 2026. Same thing, making sure that the 2026 budget nets to zero or it's neutral. And it's worth noting, this first one we're looking at right now is without the MIP grant. So you'll see, you know, had we stayed the course and not gotten the grant, you would see a loss in 2027, which would have resulted in the need to raise some capital. And then
with the MIP grant.
Yes, and then if I fast forward to with the MIP grant, given the amount of, you know, overlap expenses that we're going to incur on the original build anyway. However, now that we're getting reimbursed for them, you'll see that we're able to get to a place where in 27 we can be neutral, and then, you know, cash flow positive in 28. The one piece I do want to point out that I have to do some work on is just the cash flow portion of this. For MIP, it's all reimbursed funds, so, you know, just want to make sure enough cash is on hand to pay for all this stuff, and then wait for the reimbursements, however long they may take to get back.
Right.
We have a reimbursement schedule.
So the way we set the grant application was, and they do 4 milestones, 25, 50, 75, and 100. So I set the first milestone, and this was assuming we had a July 1st start, and now we have an August 1st start. So
Probably a September 1st start.
so the first milestone, I think, was November 1st. It might be December 1st. Maybe it was the other way around, October 1st, and now it's November. But later this year, we have our first milestone. So all the money that we lay out between now and that first milestone comes out of ErieNet's accounts. Then year end, we submit our payment application. Sometime in January, we get a check, and then we have a quarter of $5 million, $1.25 million. So basically, and then that $1.25 million comes back to us, but then we need that for the next quarter. So basically, ErieNet's fronting $1.25 million, and at the end of the grant, we get that back. Right, so that's our cash outlay for that. And Connect All didn't say boo about that.
Nor should they have. We have them funds in
Yeah.
there to do it.
Yeah.
So based on that timeline, it may be, is it a reasonable assumption that we're not thinking about needing a short-term borrowing note?
We're not. So we put those discussions with those banks on hold.
Yeah.
We let them know that, especially the second one, we really liked the option we had of being able to do like a bridge or gap loan. You know, if let's say UV comes back to us and says, hey, we want to do the full build, and they give us 50% down, but we need a little bit more, and we need something, we have that option now.
Yeah.
And we've built some
Yeah,
relationships.
and I still think especially now that the dollar figure is lower, the concept of doing like a direct placement note makes way more sense.
Yeah.
And probably more feasible. The extra just nonsense of
Going through,
accessing like
Yeah.
the public markets
I
is
agree.
just not worth it.
I agree.
Like having to go
When
to
we
somebody
have
and
a
get
revenue
rated
at
and all
some
this.
point, and you know, like,
Well,
then we
that's
start
what we-
talking, and we start
Because
building a
eventually we're
credit,
gonna have to
yeah,
we're going to have
yeah,
to borrow. We're
Yeah.
gonna have capitalized costs, but we're gonna have a few years of, you know, actual
existence,
real financials, cash flows. We're gonna be able to, fingers crossed, but we're gonna be showing, operating revenues that are coming in and are sustainable, that, it's gonna allow us to then go to a rating agency
Yep.
and be able to answer questions where, I don't know what, at this point, I know the kind of questions they would ask, I don't know how we would answer.
right. Well,
Well, we got a lot of formerly ARPA
maybe we
money.
go and get credit rated at that point
Yeah.
before, I mean, I did that through the town, I had to get us rated, we had no credit rating, it wasn't a terrible process.
But they're gonna charge you $10,000.
Yeah, it was $10,000,
It's always $10,000. They're gonna charge you 10 grand for the pleasure of doing it.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's just,
But
And
it
at
made
that point-
borrowing a heck of a lot easier.
Well-
Do you have a credit rating in Boston?
No.
No, you should do
and I
it.
mean, at that time, that's the point when you start, probably RFPing and getting like a legitimate, financial advisor, and you start talking to underwriters
Yeah.
and things of that.
We'd have bond counsel at that point, yeah. So let's talk about this. I mean, obviously, we do have some work to do, like Fred said, with the cash flow piece, and as like we go farther, if anything comes up, obviously we'll adjust those numbers.
Mhm.
But for the most part, this looks great. I
Yeah.
mean, the MIP, 2026 bottom one MIP budget's the one we're going to be using, because we have that realized now. We have the letter in hand, we'll probably have the incentives
Yeah.
signed by Friday, we'll be working on the GDA. So that's the budget we're going to be using. You can pretty much just cross out the first one and use the MIP. And the good news is we're not showing a deficit. So, I mean,
Mhm.
that's just,
Yeah,
Feels
and
good.
The other positive, we've known this for a while, and part of the reason we went through the rigmarole of doing it is by converting the ARPA dollars into the revenue loss dollars. As soon as that money came to ErieNet, as far as the federal government and US Treasury
Yeah.
was concerned, those dollars were expended.
ended, yeah.
So honestly, in the alternative,
Mhm.
where we were still regularly reporting because ErieNet theoretically would have been the subrecipient and then responsible for actually expending those dollars, we might have had to start getting a little creative about showing the actual ARPA dollars are the ones being spent, and then any, net
Would have
was
had to be
something
that,
else.
it was gonna be that reimbursement.
Yeah, it had to be something else. We
Yeah.
had to, and I hate using the analogy, but it is appropriate, we had to sort of like launder
Yeah,
the ARPA out of
we
it.
don't have to do it anymore.
And no,
Great.
we don't have to do that. So really, all of those dollars, and this is, what Fred is basically showing here, and kind of as we were moving forward, what we sort of decided was using those dollars more in a deferred revenue sort of format, where
Yeah.
we just get back to zero and, we budget for what we need and actually do, obviously we budget to zero, but at the end of the year, then we just pull what's necessary, and as long as we're cognizant of how close we are to the end, that's really the only thing we had to worry about.
Yeah, so questions, comments, or anything else you'd like to see? There'll be adjustments in
Mhm.
September, which we'll highlight. Anything so far? I know last year we talked a lot about the balancing, we're doing that, the ABO stuff.
Yeah, I think the only thing I see is, at some point, and this is just, some, I'm sure to annoys Fred too, is he'll have to, get some of the cents out of here, because that's why he's got the zero in parentheses.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
that they're, technically, we're showing a deficit of less than $1.
Yeah.
I will fix all that.
Yeah, it's just the rounding errors. No, that's great news. That's, 'cause I mean, this time last year, what, we were expecting
A deficit
A
in
deficit.
26.
about halfway through, right?
Yeah.
First quarter, second quarter,
Yeah.
so.
Right.
Yeah, the only
The
thing.
Buffalo Bills agreement was what would have killed us, I think.
Well, and the catch
We've
22.
included the new stadium build in the MIP4 grant because that's an emergency responder station
Mhm.
for public
Oh,
safety.
yeah, so we'll have that included.
And so not only did we get the connection, we got the diversified connection included, which was nearly
Yeah.
$480,000.
That's nice.
So that's something that the county doesn't have to come up with.
Yeah, I think the only thing that we'll wanna determine, and talk about more probably, at least with the full board when we get to that point, is what part of this good fortune, if you will, for 26 and 27 is directly related to the MIP, and which of it is the double-edged sword of timeline delays? Because that's some of it, right, is, you know, we're not getting as much, you know, all of the make ready took much longer than anyone thought. So on the one hand, you know, we're not spending the money, so it's gonna last longer, but on the other hand, we're not spending the money and not getting the bill.
But we're not collecting revenue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know that's the thing that is gonna start to be more of an issue as certainly time goes on, is what's the point when we have a real deliverable? Now, one of the early deliverables was actually getting to, you know, the construction phase, which, you know, whether we're able to show the public or any skeptics or any of that, you know, some like really symbolic version of construction, that's outside of our control, right? It's not exciting to look at, you know, guys climbing poles and hanging wire. You don't have an excavator, you don't have all of that, so you're not really seeing something that looks like building. But notwithstanding, like, I think we're getting to the point where we have to be really mindful of, you know, any of these delays, like really understanding what that means in terms of our timeline.
Right, and you guys, I believe you've met Francis McNamara, operations, VP of operations, and we go by Mac. We're modeling the network build, and I caution everyone, this is a forecast. And just like forecasting the weather, it changes every week. But what we're trying to do is look at, because we have better data now on what it takes to turn around make ready. We have better data now with how long DOT takes to turn around a permit. So knowing that, can we start projecting when pieces of the network will come online? It's still what we call a heuristic, which is a fancy word for a scientific guess. But at least you know, it's a model, and like any forecast, the shorter the time frame out, the more accurate. You know, it'll be accurate for the next 30 days, but it's a rolling forecast.
Because it's living data.
Right, and you know, we're going into hurricane season. We don't know if our utility crews are going to get stripped off by FEMA. You know, we're going into the NYSEG outage phases where they don't want to do pole transfers because they have too many outages. We're going into winter, and so you can't control the weather.
Yeah, but at least at this point, the delays aren't just unequivocal roadblocks.
No,
The way they were.
and we have
Yeah,
a
we're
better,
moving
like I
through
said,
that.
Where it was just like there's no progress for
we have
6
a better
months.
Yeah.
feel,
He's got
and we have
100%
better
certainty.
relationships. We have better relationships with the agencies, and that's how. Hasn't made it perfect, still too long.
And we have ongoing weekly meetings with all of them now. We have check-ins. They have a construction manager, Mark Collette, that really
Matt
has,
Collette, yeah.
correct. I have a friend named Mark Collette,
Yeah.
and then we have Mark Correct, and it's just like really, or Matt
Correct.
crap. And we have 2 maths, and I'm like, oh my God.
We just go by last names now.
Yeah,
Kreider and Correct.
yeah.
And, but a final comment on the MIP. Again, it's really good news. And in a way, and Melissa alluded to it, it's almost better that they skinnied it back down to the 5. Because now we don't have the burden of a $30 million bill by the end of year, by the end of 26. A lot of that bill sets us up for potential subscribers, but it also sets us up to maintain and operate infrastructure that
we don't.
the grant doesn't cover that.
Yeah. Well, and that we don't currently have the resources, because that'll be one of the next sort of inflection points, right? Is, building up not just the ability to have reoccurring revenues match reoccurring operating expenses, but we're also, I don't know what the lifespan on, any of our infrastructure really is, but I'm sure some of it is gonna need a level of maintenance and repair and replacement pretty quickly, because things happen.
I mean, this is a rule of thumb off the back of the napkin, but basically, operation and maintenance runs about 8% of build. So if we're gonna spend, make the math easy, we're gonna spend 30 million in building 2.4. How much I gotta sell?
Yeah.
I gotta sell 3 million a year. We gotta make a little bit of margin.
So, I don't mean to cut everyone off, but we have one more item, and we only have a couple minutes. So, any questions? Anyone have any more questions for Fred before we move on from budget?
No, I think a lot of the conversation we had last year was more about coming up with, inventing the wheel, coming up with the format, how we wanted to. So now that we're there, this is a pretty uncomplicated set of financials at this point.
Yeah.
So.
Good. That's what we wanted, uncomplicated. Hi, Thomas. All right, Mark, are you comfortable then going on to the item number 4?
Yes.
Okay. So this one is basically, we have a rule that we set in place, the Audit and Finance Committee set in place way back when I first started, when we first started spending money and set up the account of a was it 10,000? I have a $10,000 approval limit. So I can approve anything $10,000 and below, which is fine, except most of our checks are for more. And so I guess the question, we don't have to answer it today, we can't anyway, because we have to have quorum, but what I would like the group to start thinking about, and Thomas and I have talked about it, obviously Courtney is part of the process, is potentially finding a comfortable number to move that up. It's cumbersome. Most of what we're approving goes obviously through the entire process. So there's lots of eyes on it. Your eyes are on it. You see it every week. But the majority of our construction costs are, what do you think the average check is?
15 to 20, some 30.
That's gonna grow.
And that's gonna grow, which is okay if they're real high. I mean, we don't need to go crazy here, but we might want to look at like a $25,000 or $20,000, but just mull it over and see what you think you're comfortable with. Right now, we're probably in the $15,000 to $25,000 range, and so anything that is above 10 has to go to Thomas as well. And it's pretty much construction stuff. Obviously, it's coming from ECC through Courtney, then to me. Then it goes through your eyes for a check anyway. So I guess our request is that we consider between $20,000 and $25,000 being more of the set limit, so that we can reduce some of the duplication that Thomas has to do. It is going to increase. We're going to start having bigger bills. Hi, Andrew. But just kind of mull around what you think
so
might be,
I
or
think
questions you might have for us.
I think on the front end, so obviously the ultimate dollar figure approved at is going to have to fit into everyone's comfort level to some degree. But I think the more important piece of information is what is the flow of checks. So in that if we all feel perfectly comfortable with, say, doubling it to $20,000, but that only helps us buy 2 checks.
Right.
It's not worth doing. So like, where is that line where, you know, it would eat into, you know,
Let me do an
the
analysis
timeline,
of that. Let me try, let me look at
that's
the last like 30 days, or maybe even the next couple weeks.
Yeah, kind of what the average is,
And what
what's
the
the
average
standard
is.
deviation on
Okay.
either side, just so we know, because I wouldn't want to say, yeah, I feel good with, you know, $20,000, but $30,000 is a bridge too far, and then we save ourselves 1 check.
Yep.
Because everything is right around 30,000.
Okay, let's look at that. Let's put this on the agenda for next time. Let's look at the average. Let's look probably at the last 60 days and then the last 2
Mark, I
weeks.
think you're spot on, just
Yeah.
looking at the
I guess one
transaction.
other thing I was just
reconciliation
thinking,
being
somebody in the
you're
spectrum,
you're definitely net well.
those I can
Yeah.
combine.
Yeah, it's
All
probably
these
in
invoices into one
that
check, which
range would
pushes
be
them
my
over.
guess.
the
It's just if
threshold.
we're,
So does
if
it,
we're
Are we
gonna
looking at those
reconsider it, we
individually?
might as
that's what I
well
mean, like, does
reconsider
it count
something
if
that
it's
has to
individual,
be
because right
done.
now he
Right,
approves
right.
them when they're combined, but if they're all at like 1,000, 2,000.
So so Courtney's question is like NICEAG sends us like 50 bills or something.
Mhm.
And they're all like I'm not even joking. And they're all like 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, but she can combine those
I could send it in one check.
and send it in one check. That pushes it over, but that's just one then. That one doesn't bother me as much as these other little individual ones, because that one we really are approving a certain amount for a NICEAG.
Just
Yeah, I mean-
curious, through the eyes of an LDC, are they like, you know, world of government, you or I as the supervisor can automatically approve utility bills? We do not need legally, a supervisor or mayor does not need
Yeah.
town board approval to pay utility
For
bills.
utility bills, yeah, we usually did, just throw it in the abstract, but, they're not, I mean, they're coming from a utility.
They're still gonna be-
Are they a utility bill in the same sense that a town's paying utility bill? No, they're different, but it's interesting.
But it is a utility.
It's
bill.
all
That's
construction
That's
related,
my logic.
yeah.
Um,
It's a stretch only because, it's all construction related. I don't know.
Good question.
Yeah, so let us analyze that, and then we'll come back to it, but kind of
Talk to
start
the
thinking
attorney.
about that, yeah. And the way that our process is, when we have to approve a bill, like, we get email, which I like, but it's a lot, the entering of bills.
Yeah, I mean, I want to.
More for Thomas. I'm
I wanna
always gonna
do this
get 'em.
for, you know, a reason, so I'd like to know what is going to be helpful, and then we
Yeah.
can kind of,
Okay,
you know, sense what seems like too much or not, but that's gonna be more, subjective than objective.
all right, we'll give you that info. We'll put it on the September. All right, see you then, Mark.
So with that, I guess, we will wrap up. I guess we don't technically have to adjourn because we never had a quorum to,
Right.
do it, but we are ending the meeting at, 1:49.
Awesome.